Holy moly, there's been a lot of cruise news over the last couple days, and I've got it all up next. Hey everyone, it's Matt from RoyalCaribbeanBlog.com. A lot has been happening in the cruise industry, which is great news, by the way, because it's good to see some updates and things moving forward. And today I wanted to catch you up on all the Royal Caribbean cruise news happening over the last couple of days. Let's start off with some bad news, unfortunately, and that is Royal Caribbean has canceled its entire cruise season from Israel for Odyssey of the Seas. Unfortunately, the first major cruise ship to be based out of Israel will not happen. Royal Caribbean confirmed over the weekend that it has canceled the entire cruise season from Haifa, Israel for Odyssey of the Seas. Royal Caribbean said that the decision was made due to the unrest in Israel and the region and their inability to, quote, complete the preparation required to operate, and as a result, sailings out of Haifa will be canceled, end quote. There's two major factors at play here. First of all, Royal Caribbean has been unable to vaccinate their crew there. Royal Caribbean ordered vaccines for the crew on Odyssey of the Seas, but unfortunately, those vaccines won't arrive until sometime next year. So Royal Caribbean wanted to buy vaccines from the Israeli government and then repay the vaccines when they get them. Unfortunately, that didn't work out. And on top of that, I'm sure you're all very well aware of the Palestinian rocket attacks on Israel over the last couple of days. And all of that really circled around the beginning of cruises that are supposed to begin the first week of June, and Royal Caribbean decided to pull the plug on it. Anybody that was booked on Odyssey of the Seas will have the choice of a 125% future cruise credit or a 100% refund, and Royal Caribbean is giving those people the option of rebooking on Jewel of the Seas this summer from Cyprus, and they'll actually get an additional $400 onboard credit for doing so. Now, what will happen to Odyssey of the Seas? Well, it's not quite clear yet, but at the very least, Odyssey is now heading over to Florida. Royal Caribbean International President and CEO Michael Bailey confirmed that she's headed to Florida, and it looks like Port Canaveral at that. And in the meantime, she's going to change some crew over with Anthem of the Seas, but she's going to come over to Florida, and for all we can tell right now, wait for cruises to restart from the U.S. Royal Caribbean has not announced where she'll sail for them instead, or her deployments, or when those will go on sale. We don't have any other information currently, so she's kind of back in limbo, and this is now the second time her inaugural sailings have been canceled. Of course, Odyssey of the Seas is Royal Caribbean's brand new cruise ship. She was just delivered earlier this year. She was supposed to begin her cruise season in Europe. That was obviously canceled. And then obviously now with Israel, that was canceled as well. So hopefully third time is the charm for Odyssey of the Seas. Speaking of the United States, obviously a lot of people want to know when the heck our cruise is going to restart and all that. And we have to have some updates, some good news, I guess. It's good news, bad news kind of situation. And that is the CDC has been quietly updating some of its protocols and requirements for cruise lines. They actually made 2 updates last week, which is incredible considering they did no updates from October until, I don't know, March. So, kudos for at least finally doing the right thing. But a lot of these updates are still kind of minuscule, and it doesn't really address the major problems that we're talking about. But the CDC did update some of its operations manual for cruises, and there's some good stuff in here. As an example, vaccinated passengers are no longer required to wear a mask outside except in crowded spaces, but unvaccinated passengers still must wear face masks, including while sunbathing on lounge chairs, spaced 6 feet apart, and in between bites and sips during outdoor meal service. All passengers, vaccinated or not, must still wear a mask in between bites and sips while dining outdoors, which makes absolutely no sense whatsoever. The ban on independent shore excursions has been moved from a requirement to recommendation. That is really good news. Essentially, the CDC is saying that it's up to the cruise lines now to determine if they want to allow their passengers to go off on third-party shore excursions or not. Buffets are still prohibited, even on fully vaccinated sailings. I don't understand that last part. And of course, the new update continues to treat vaccinated sailings the exact same way as a mix of vaccinated and unvaccinated passengers, which is, of course, bananas. But, this is the CDC we've been dealing with. Again, a couple good things in there, but some of the other changes are kind of still makes you scratch your head. In addition, the CDC also issued a new update about screening cruise ship passengers and basically saying that the cruise lines now have the tools in which to understand what to look for when screening passengers who come on board a ship. The CDC now requires cruise lines to look for symptoms or signs of COVID-19 and screen for a known close contact exposure to a person with COVID-19 within the past 14 days. Passengers with signs or symptoms of COVID could still go on the cruise if they're fully vaccinated, but denied boarding if not fully vaccinated and without documentation of recovery. Passengers who have a known close contact exposure in the past 14 days will also be denied boarding if not fully vaccinated and without documentation of recovery. Fully vaccinated may board at the cruise line's discretion. Now, I need to remind everybody that these CDC rules I'm talking about apply to cruises theoretically that would sail from the United States, which obviously isn't happening right now. So for cruises sailing outside the U.S., like Adventure of the Seas from the Bahamas or Vision from Bermuda or Anthem of the Seas from the U.K., it still remains to be seen what the new protocols are for those sailings because Royal Caribbean has not yet released the new protocols for those cruises. I know a lot of people have been wondering when that will happen. I certainly am as well because we're now within 30 days of our first sailing on Adventure of the Seas from the Bahamas. If and when that does occur, I will absolutely be sharing it at RoyalCaribbeanBlog.com. I've also got some really good news to share this week, and that is, first of all, the U.S. Senate has passed a bill to allow cruise ships to possibly sail from Alaska without having to go to Canada. The U.S. Senate unanimously passed a bill that will allow foreign flag cruise ships to sail to Alaska without having to stop in Canada. The Alaska Tourism Recovery Act, H.R. 1318, passed the Senate in a vote on Thursday and will now go to the U.S. House of Representatives for a vote there. This bill essentially gets around the Canada ban on cruise ships. As you may recall, Canada has banned cruise ships for quite a while, and that ban now extends well into next year. And basically, this bill would allow that if the CDC were to allow cruise ships to sail from the U.S., to allow ships to visit Alaska without having to legally stop in a foreign country like Canada. So, if the CDC were to lift the ban on cruise ships, ships could sail from Seattle to Alaska and be legally able to do so. If you're interested in learning more about why we can't have cruises to Alaska without stopping in Canada normally, you should look up the Passenger Vessel Services Act, PVSA, and there's a whole lot of reading ahead of you on that one. But this is an important step. I didn't think this would actually get this far, so hopefully it will pass the U.S. House as well, and then it'll be up to the president to sign the bill into law. This, by the way, only applies to cruises from the Pacific Northwest, and it only applies for 2021. So if this were to go into 2022, you got to have a whole new bill that goes out there for that one. And lastly, Royal Caribbean said that passengers will not have to wear face masks at Perfect Day at CocoCay. Face masks have been a major point of contention among cruise fans who want to know where and when you're going to have to wear masks. But Royal Caribbean has confirmed that face masks are not going to be required on their private island in the Bahamas, Perfect Day at CocoCay. During a call with travel agents last week, Royal Caribbean confirmed that yes, when Adventure of the Seas heads to the Bahamas in June, with me on board, by the way, that we will not have to wear a mask on the island. Quote, at Perfect Day CocoCay, because it's our private destination and everybody who lives on the island will have the vaccination and all guests will be vaccinated who are 18 and older, you will not have to wear a mask when you're at Perfect Day at CocoCay, end quote. And lastly, one other thing, they're still trying to figure out also details on Cozumel and Grand Bahama Islands, and Royal Caribbean hoped, that was their word, to have an update by next week, which of course is this week now. So if there is one, I'll be sure to report on it at RoyalCaribbeanBlog.com. So there you go. There's the big Royal Caribbean cruise news of this week. A lot is happening. And of course, I'll be trying to stay on top of all of it. I'd love to hear in the comments, which of these do you think is the biggest news? Does anything change your view or vantage point about things that are happening in the cruise industry? Personally, it looks like there's progress. It may not be the super fast progress we'd like to see, but it's moving in the right direction. Some things are nicely aligning for cruises to restart, and I think it's really good to have out there. So let me know in the comments what you think about it. And while you're down there, make sure you like this video. That really does help us out with YouTube if you hit that like button. Also, subscribe to our channel and hit that bell icon. That way, YouTube lets you know when we have a brand new video to share. And by the way, subscribing to the channel, totally free. Nothing extra to do on there. It's just a great little feature. This has been Matt from RoyalCaribbeanBlog.com, and we'll talk again real soon.